What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about a few different Grayscale trusts, which I guess GBTC and ETH are now, well, they're not ETFs. GBTC is, but ETH is technically not an ETF yet. We're gonna talk about GBTC, ETH, LTCN, BCHG, and GSOL at the request of the determined Dude in a Kia, Cal, and Paul O. That's the order. That's the requesters. Let's get this started. So GBTC and ETH, the determined, you wanted to know how high I could see these going by the end of the cycle. And really, because the ETH ETF has been approved, there probably will be some premiums until it's listed and some discounts, but it's not going to stray too far from its NAV price, right? And GBTC is pretty locked on. It doesn't stray far at all from its NAV price. So being that it probably doesn't stray far from its NAV price, the question at hand is, how high could I see GBTC going? Well, I think to answer that, we'd go to BTC. I personally expect Bitcoin itself to see new all-time highs this cycle. Well, it's already done that, I guess, upwards to 174K at the lowest. That's about 150% gain to potentially 460, I would even say $500,000, somewhere around there. So let's call it a 600% gain to 150% gain. If that's what BTC does, then I would assume GBTC being locked on, tit for tat, move up for move up, move down for move down. I would assume that you have a 150% minimum capability, which would take you all the way up to about $152, let's say, to a 600% maximum potential, I would say, which would take you all the way up to $425. So 425 versus 152. That's your top potential. Looks like it might want to roll over for the time being. It might want to come down a little bit, but maybe not. I don't know. The way the weekly looks, it's not encouraging, but I suppose if we can close this week green, and even if it closes red a little bit, that's okay. But if we can get next week to close green, it's fine. But rejecting this overbought area on the weekly would not be a good look. It normally isn't. Even if we're moving up, right? Even if we're moving up overall, rejected the overbought zone. Well, I guess you got into it here. Rejected it here, though. Consolidated for months, right? So if we don't want to consolidate for months, or at least like several weeks, we'd want to continue right now. So hopefully we can get that. Let's look at ETH. I suppose for ETH, we could do the same thing with Ethereum, right? From the cycle high to cycle low, the minimum expected target is 7,752. The maximum expected target is 14,000, somewhere around there. I don't think that this thing will go to its 2272 all the way up to 43K. I just don't see it happening. So let's assume a minimum potential of 100% roughly to, let's say 300%. 100 to 300% for Ethereum. Assuming ETH trust gets listed as a ETF and the price doesn't stray too far, a 100 to 300% growth. Well, we can just do that in our head. 35, that'd be $70 to $140, right? $70 to $140. Yeah, that's your max high kind of potential for ETH. And does that line up at all with any of these fibs? I suppose it's irrelevant if it does, but yeah, kind of. It's in that range. So, yep, 70 to 140. That's my thoughts. I think ETH will continue to grow as Ethereum will as well. Again, technically, this is not a trust, or it's not an ETF. It's an ETF in waiting. As to when it will be an ETF, I don't know. I know there's a lot of talk. I know there's a lot of talk about what the next ETF will be, right? Whenever Bitcoin got approved, it was very safe to assume that Ethereum would be the next ETF on the list. Now that Ethereum's been approved, the question really is, what's the next one? Because if we look at CoinGecko, I'm getting on a bit of a tangent here, but this is kind of a topic that I'm going to address in another video, so we're getting a little taste. We look at the list. The next coin would be Binance. Well, BNB, exchange tokens, probably not going to get an ETF. Probably not. BNB lost there. They had to settle with the SEC. You know, probably not. Solana right after that seems like a worthy contender. You know, XRP kind of makes sense. Dogecoin, that would be interesting. I don't know if that would get a. I don't know if that would happen. Cardano probably not as well. You know, but I could see XRP, Solana, that would make sense. But it could be anything, man. It could be some lower ones. Who knows? You know, it really does depend. But I forget where I was going with that, unfortunately. But let's get back to the task at hand. Anyways, we're gonna talk about LTCN for Dude and Nakia. Consolidating, aren't we? Looking bullish as hell. This is a nice parabolic structure that you have. You're flagging out right now, looking fine. Higher lows, lower lows. I love to see it. Your weekly RSI is bullishly postured. Daily RSI is neutral with a bearish kind of tint to it, but also it's in an area where it would make sense to bounce from here. So, and on the price, you're at a previous low point, tipped a previous area of resistance. You could bounce from here as well. This could have been yesterday. I guess technically when most people watch this, yesterday would be today. But the day of Wednesday might have been your low for LTCN, might have been your higher low that we were looking for. Relative high to low here. If you were to move up, I'd say you're at 28 bucks now. I'd say your next move is going to be about 40 bucks to 42 bucks and beyond. I do think you're coming to the end of this consolidation phase, and I think we can see that in the volume. It's just dying off. It's absolutely not there. This is some of the lowest levels of volume that we've seen since like October of last year, right? And look at what happened in October of last year. Right here, we were consolidating. We were at the end of this large, like boring phase of consolidation with a little excitement in the middle, but large boring phase where we just essentially moved sideways. We started to move up as we hit our lowest points of volume, of which we're like at similar places now. So we're not as boring, but still low volume in a consolidation phase like this. I wouldn't be surprised if we broke to the upside or to the downside, but probably to the upside is what my thoughts would be. So higher prices are coming, guys. I do think LTCN will see new all-time highs this cycle from its previous cycle. But as of now, I'm just drawing over that fib, but as of now, we can look forward to about 68 bucks to 90 bucks on this next run up, and potentially even more. I think this run here from a high to a low, I mean, that's not the high, that's the high. That went all the way up to your 2272. Can't make it up, man. Can't make it up. Tipped it. Tipped your 2272. Now you're finding support on the 1414. If you are respecting this still, your next minimum target actually would be $72. And that lines up very well with your expected range there. 72, 90 bucks, something like that. Yeah, that could happen. That could happen. But looking at the 2272 being hit, if we hit the next 2272, that's all the way up at $153. We're at $28 now, guys. So it's a big range, but there's a lot of potential coming over the coming months for LTCN, right? Whenever this thing moved up after consolidating for a while, it broke out here finally. It'd been moving up for a while already, but when it finally broke out, it was from March until April. So like a whole month of just moving up, right? So it's not going to happen in a day or a week. It'll probably take multiple months from here to get to those highs, but sometime by the end of summer, I think we could be around $100, maybe even above $100 for LTCN. But yeah, it's looking good. Hopefully you hold the line. I don't think you're going to break down. That's what gives me confidence that you are going to continue to move up. But BCHG for Cal is the next one. BCHG looks like it wants to move down just a little bit. The daily RSI is neutral, but the ball's in the bear's court. Just a little bit. Yeah, I would say it wants to move down just a little bit. Not lower than this low. I'm convinced that's the low. But high to low here, or low to high here. Yeah, $11, 13 cents. $10, 73 cents, somewhere around there, just below 11, just above 11. You're at 11.75 now, so drop about $1, and that'll probably be it. Then we'll move up. That's my thoughts. It could happen tomorrow. It might be later than that, but inevitably, I know Cal, you want me to go over the all-time high for BCHG. Was it you or was it somebody else that said why? I think it was somebody else that was asking why 225. Who was it? I would have given you the shout out if you were the first person to request it, but you weren't. But 250. The reason why 250 is the minimum expected target is because if you take the cycle high from before to the cycle low, the all-time low, this very significant fib, in my opinion, of which we've been respecting. You can see that we respected it. We rejected the 382, found support on the 236, moved up to the 0.5, consolidated, just blasted through the 618. You found resistance right at the 786, found support in the golden ratio area. I just think it looks respected, in my opinion, based off of this alone. The minimum expected target would be $250 to $1,500. But I don't know if you go to $1,500 for BCHG, but I do believe $250 is in the bag. If not, genuinely, I'm looking for this like $500 area, $500 to $600. That's kind of my personal expected target, but we'll see how that goes. This again is by the end of the cycle, of which I would assume for BCHG, if it doesn't become an ETF. Here's the thing too, guys. I think this is where I got sidetracked on the ETF stuff. For LTCN and BCHG, because I know a lot of you guys, first off, shout out to Ethan Gallstad with Ethan Invests. I know that a lot of you guys have come over to my channel from him you just want the TA side of things, right? Talking about these trusts. I know a lot of you are invested predominantly in BCHG and LTCN. Some of you have ventured out into GSOL, G-Link, FileG, HSEN, all those ETCG, whatever. You've ventured out into those. But I know a lot of you are involved heavily with BCHG and LTCN. I didn't mean to cause a scare, and I do apologize if I did. I was being real whenever I said it would suck if the ETFs got approved for these, because the main reason that would suck is it eliminates these highs as your potential for the cycle. But what it doesn't eliminate is higher prices. And BCHG and LTCN, they're both at premiums right now versus their native asset value, the NAV price. But that NAV price, if these ETFs got approved tomorrow and they were getting listed the next week or whatever, the price would drop initially. But over time, over this cycle, LTC and BCH both have room to grow. So even if these trusts were to become ETFs this cycle, which I don't think they will, it's possible, anything's possible, but I don't think they will. Ethan made some good points in his video. If anybody hasn't seen that, I would suggest watching his video, but I think it makes sense. I don't think that they would make these ETFs this year. They might get it in the works this year, but they won't get approved and listed until, maybe at the end of this cycle, maybe if that even. But the coins, the underlying assets themselves will still go up in value, right? BCH, I think LTCN, what's it at? Let's look it up right now, actually. Looking at this here, BCHG, Grayscale. My internet is super slow today. I don't know why. So the native asset value is $4. Market price shares $11.75. So, I mean, I'm just going to use the Google calculator because I want to kind of be exact with this. So, was it $4.01? $4.01 divided by 11.75, right? Yeah. So, no, I did it the wrong way. I want the premium, 11.75, not the ratio, divided by 4.01. Gives you 2.93. So there's a 2.93 premium on BCHG. $27.99 divided by 723. And there's a 3.8 premium on LTCN. Okay. So assuming, maybe those percentages would have been good. Assuming that they were to drop, right, down to their native asset value, which for BCHG would be $4.01. Okay, that would take you down a lot. That would take you down a whole lot. But then it'd be locked on to BCH's price. I'm not going to look at, I guess we can look at BCH's price real quick. We're at 464 right now, right? For the native asset value, that's I guess this is after hours, so it wouldn't be that exact price, but we haven't moved. We're only down 0.19% so far on the day. We only moved 1% yesterday, so somewhere around this price, I think it's a fair assumption to make. Again, this price here, 464, that's what the native asset value is. If, let's say, BCHG got approved for an ETF tomorrow, you would see BCHG drop immensely to $4.01 roughly. But BCH itself has a lot of room to grow. I think BCH personally is going to see a 20K. This is where it all comes together. I know that was a bit of a headache, but for anybody that bared with me, I think BCH could see from the current price a 40x, right? So if BCHG were to go down to $4.01, just flash crash because an ETF got approved, let's just say it's like right there. There we go, $4.01 on the dot. A 40x would still be over 150 bucks. So even if the ETFs get approved, it's not ideal. It would get rid of the premiums for sure. And this part actually, this line of thought got inspired by Ethan's video, and that's shout out to Ethan one more time for his recent video, because I feel like the message that I was saying last time, it might have come across in a way that was like scary. Like, what happens if they do get approved? Are we screwed? You're screwed in the sense of you're not going to have the premiums, right? And that's what Ethan was saying. You're not going to have the premiums, but the price will still grow. The price of the underlying asset will still grow, and I would assume that this and LTCN would still see new all-time highs, even if the ETFs were to get approved somehow this cycle, which I also don't think will happen. But I got nothing else to say on that note. I think that's enough. Let's move on to G-Sol. I hope that made sense. I hope I didn't go too far astray, but that's not the right one. G-Sol. Don't they know what we want? There we go. G-Sol. Now this one might hurt a bit because I think this is at a way greater premium, isn't it? G-Sol Grayscale. $4.79 per share. NAV price is 63. Yeah, that's a much larger premium. But yeah, so G-Sol getting approved as an ETF this cycle could happen, and that would not be good for the price because I don't think Solana itself has a lot of room to grow. It's at a dramatically higher market cap than LTC or BCH is, so it's got less room to grow in my opinion, and it's newer. The potential of it is limited a little bit because it is so new. We don't know if it'll stand the test of time just yet, right? It's crazy, guys. Like, we talk about Ethereum and BCH and LTC and Solana, XRP. These are like the top dogs in the space. But you guys, like 20 years from now, for those of us who are still alive in 20 years or 40 years from now, we're going to look back and be like, you remember Ethereum? You remember Solana? It was going to change the world. You remember those? Like, that's these coins. There's no way. Pick your 5 favorite coins, 5 coins that you assume will be here in 20 years or more that exist in the crypto space. Maybe they'll be around, but they won't be relevant anymore. I would bet out of those 5, at least 3 of them will lose relevance over the next 20 years. As relevant as they are now, as relevant as they might have been over the past couple cycles, they won't be relevant going forward. Maybe they'll be relevant going forward next cycle or even the cycle after that. But 2 decades from now, there's going to be that kind of phase where I think things are becoming more real with crypto. So the used cryptos will be the ones that remain. The unused cryptos will be the obsolete cryptos will be the ones that get put out. Anyways, it's a theory. I don't know. It's a very plausible theory, but for G-Sol, to finish it up, the suspense is killing me. Weekly RSI looking very bullish, looking very good. Chilling up here. You should have gone down, but you just didn't do it, did you? So you look like you want to move up. Let's say you are moving up. I think you are. Relative high to the flash crash low. I don't know if I like that low. Maybe this is the low. I don't know, man. I think you're moving up. I just don't know where to draw the standard for your fib here. I mean, it doesn't look to be respected, but kind of, but not really. I don't know. I really don't know. So I would just say I do think that you're going to move higher. You're at 479 now. We could expect to see prices around, I would say, 700 to 1200 over the coming weeks and months as well. I do think that you will see a new high. I just don't know if this is the right fib to base it off of. That would put you at $800 to $1,200 for your expected range. This fib I could kind of go with, but it's too small, so you're not really projected past the all-time high there. I don't know. I think that this thing has more than a 100% growth left in it, though, from its current price for the rest of the cycle, but I don't know. I think it'll start to move up soon, go to new highs. Let's just say around $700 to $1,000, but with the potential to go higher. That's my thoughts. All in all, it looks like it wants to move up. We'll see where it goes. It'll probably happen over the coming weeks and coming months. That's all I got to say. If you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe to see more, and just remember, guys, if the ETFs get approved, it's only the coins that really have these like insane premiums on them. And Solana's premium, G-Sol, it's not even that. I mean, it is kind of crazy for right now, but it's not that crazy, right? Not like HSEN or File G, right? Or there's probably some other ones that I'm not thinking of. It's not like those kind of crazy premiums, right? The reason why G-Sol would get hurt if it got approved as an ETF is because Solana itself, the native value or the native token, I don't think it has that much more room to grow in market cap valuation. It'll still grow. It'll still do well. Anybody who has money in Solana now, they're going to have more money by the end of the cycle, probably to the tune of like more than a 2x even from the current price. But where BCHG and LTCN, they would drop in price as well. Their underlying assets, if the ETFs got approved, their underlying assets have more than just a 2x, more than even a 10x to grow for both of them. So that definitely leaves the door open to recover those losses if the ETFs get approved. So I want to just say that clearly, because I did watch back my last video, and there was a moment where I was like, I don't know, guys, that would kind of suck. This is why I invested in the native cryptos, because you never know what could happen, and you never do know what could happen. That's why I do invest in them. But I do not think that an ETF being approved for LTCN or BCHG would cause death to those to the people who are invested in it. It might cause a panic for a moment. The price would tank, absolutely, on both of them, but it would recover because the native asset, it'll be fixed to the native asset, and the native asset on ETF news, at least in our experience with Bitcoin and Ethereum for crypto, it seems to be a good thing. It seems to make price pump. So while initially the ETFs might make BCHG or LTCN dump if they have a premium, inevitably they will recover with the native value from the native asset. You just won't see as high of price targets, right? They still new all-time highs for both of them, but just not as high as what we're expecting, and that's okay. As long as you're making money, you can't really be upset, right? You can feel a little bit like, oh, it didn't work out, but if you're making money, that's better, man. Anyways, I got nothing else to say. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you all for coming. I'll see you on the next one. This is not a man bun. It's a Christmas wreath, and my wife and I, we just like Christmas, man. It's a great. I don't even really like celebrate holidays that much, but it's Christmas, right? When I was a kid, I wish the Christmas decorations stayed up year round. I'm an adult now. They stay up year round. Okay, you remember I had the tree up until Valentine's Day. I would still have the tree up. My wife and I took it down. We're like, why did we take the tree down? You guys hit me up in the comments. You're like, why did you take the tree down? I don't know. It's going to be up tomorrow. You're going to see. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.